Holy smokes, I wasn't even planning to talk about Nvidia again until their next earnings call. But the news coming out this week is just too big to ignore. After everything we've seen, I'm more convinced than ever that Nvidia could become the world's first $5 trillion company, way sooner than most people think. Let's get straight to it. Quick recap. What's going on? Here's the bottom line. All three of these developments have massive implications for Nvidia, and we're going to break down exactly why. Let's start with the biggest one, China. China AI chip restrictions reversed. Until just recently, US export rules blocked Nvidia from selling advanced AI chips to China. The ban included Nvidia's H20 chips, which were built specifically to comply with earlier restrictions. Then, in April, things got even tougher. New rules required Nvidia to get a government license for every single AI chip sale to Chinese buyers. That effectively shut down their ability to do business with companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and ByteDance. China made up about 13% of Nvidia's revenue last year. But because of those restrictions, Nvidia couldn't complete existing orders or take on new ones. As a result, they took a $2.5 billion revenue hit in Q1 alone, wrote off $5 billion in unsold inventory, and removed China-related income from their projections. But now, that's changing. This week, the Trump administration gave Nvidia the green light to resume shipments, so long as each sale still gets individual approval. The chips allowed for export are mid-range models like the H20s and RTX Pro GPUs, not their most powerful Blackwell or Hopper chips, but still extremely valuable. And here's the key: demand in China is still massive. Nvidia's hardware and software ecosystem is far ahead of anything available from local Chinese suppliers. Analysts now estimate that Nvidia will recover about $8 billion in deferred or lost revenue over the next few quarters. Total revenue from China could hit $15-20 billion by year-end. That's roughly 15% of Nvidia's total annual income. But this is about more than just short-term numbers. AI market growth, the bigger picture. The global AI market is on track to grow more than 8x by 2033, roughly a 30% compound annual growth rate. And around 50% of AI research is happening in China. The earlier restrictions were essentially locking the world's top AI hardware company, Nvidia, out of the world's largest AI development market. Now, with partial access restored, Nvidia is back in the game. But here's the twist: restrictions forced China to accelerate development of their own chips and AI systems. That means more competition in the long run, but also more innovation globally, and Nvidia's software ecosystem stands to benefit no matter what hardware is used. So this shift opens the door for long-term tailwinds for Nvidia, not just in revenue, but in ecosystem growth and research partnerships. Meta's supercluster plans, billions in GPUs, and now, let's talk about Meta. Just one day after the export news, Meta announced they're building two of the largest AI superclusters ever attempted. The first, Prometheus, will be operational by 2026. The second, Hyperion, is scheduled for 2030. Hyperion is planned to span about 23 square miles, about the size of Manhattan, and use 5 gigawatts of power. That's enough electricity to supply 4 million homes. Meta plans to install around 600,000 Nvidia H100 GPUs to train AI models. And both projects will be powered by Nvidia's most advanced systems, Blackwell GPUs, Grace Blackwell superchips, and Nvidia's high-speed networking tech. AMD chips and Meta's custom AI chips will play minor roles, but the bulk of the investment is going straight into Nvidia's architecture. We're likely talking about tens of billions of dollars in upcoming orders. And get this, Meta just raised its data center budget to $60 billion for 2025. That's a 50% jump from the previous year. The focus? Scaling up AI models that learn from the mountains of data produced by Meta's 4 billion monthly active users. Other tech giants are following. Meta's not alone in this. Google just committed $25 billion toward AI data centers over the next 2 years. Microsoft, Amazon, and Oracle are all expanding their own AI infrastructure investments. All of these companies rely heavily on Nvidia's technology. As they shift to multi-gigawatt clusters, they'll need massive amounts of power and reliable long-term electricity contracts. Which also opens up another investment theme: energy generation for AI infrastructure. More importantly, these aren't one-time capex splurges. They represent a long-term transition to AI-powered business models across the tech sector. So forget what Wall Street said about the AI bubble peaking. If anything, these companies are just getting started. And Nvidia's data center business is going to reflect that in future earnings calls, not just the next one, but for years to come. OpenAI's AI browser, another game changer. Let's move on to the third major catalyst. OpenAI is launching a new AI-powered web browser called Aura. It's aimed at ChatGPT's 400 million weekly users, and it's a direct challenge to Google Chrome. Here's why that's a big deal. Google Chrome controls over 65% of desktop browser traffic. Most of that runs through Google Search, which powers about 3/4 of Alphabet's revenue. And traditional search relies mostly on CPUs. But Aura is built to keep search, browsing, and even shopping inside an AI-driven interface, powered by GPUs. That's a major shift. AI search and generative responses require a ton more compute than standard search. Google's early AI summaries increased compute per search by 7 times. And that's just summaries. Actual AI agents use even more. Now imagine if just 10% of global searches move from Google to AI tools like Aura, and each one requires 10x more compute. That would essentially double the global demand for data center GPUs. And that's a conservative estimate. AI browsers are expected to handle much more than search. They'll fill out forms, compare products, schedule appointments, and even make purchases for you. Each of those tasks adds more steps and more compute. And with Nvidia holding over 90% of the data center GPU market, they're in the perfect position to benefit from all of this. What happens next? As AI browsing becomes more mainstream, data centers will need to shift from CPU-heavy workloads to GPU-first infrastructure. That shift could drive tens of billions of dollars in unexpected demand for Nvidia over the next several years. OpenAI isn't the only one in this space either. Perplexity and other AI-based search engines are growing. And Google's ad market share is projected to dip below 50% for the first time in a long while. The AI browser market alone is expected to grow nearly 13x by 2034. That's a 33% annual growth rate. Even a few percentage points of market share shifting toward AI-powered tools could create massive new demand for GPUs and AI infrastructure. Final thoughts. So yeah, Nvidia's stock jumped 6% this week. But the headlines barely scratch the surface. We're seeing, these aren't temporary events, they're structural shifts. They're laying the foundation for Nvidia's dominance in the next era of computing. Understanding these changes isn't just good for short-term trading, it's essential for long-term investors who want to stay ahead of the curve. Until next time, take care and keep learning.